Hey guys, so today we are going to, this is a quick tutorial on how to scrape Hacker News, the post on Hacker News using Python and Beautiful Soup. Okay, so we're going to use Beautiful Soup, of course it's using Python to scrape Hacker News. So for that you need to load up Beautiful Soup. If you're not have it installed, please, and also install the request module. Uh, One word is if um, you might want to check if you have the SoupSIEV module, SOUPSIEV. If it's not there anyway, the code will throw an error, then you can install it. Also, LXML module, they should all be there already along with Beautiful Soup when you install, but if not, for some weird reason, you should do that. Sometimes that happens. All right. So having said that, then just load up something like this, and then let's find out what is our target here and how we can. Let's analyze it a little bit. Hacker News. If I Google it, it will be news.ycombinator.com. You go here, and this is what we are going to get. Okay, this is what we're trying to get now. This page. So let's see as much detail as possible. We'll try and get from here. So if I just sort of study this a little bit, because we are using Beautiful Soup, we're going to look at the class and how they are arranged and what is the best way to approach this. And if you look at this already, I go over this. Let's just collapse this a little bit. There's a table. Okay, this whole thing is one table really, and I think there's each row is one article, one post. Oh no, okay. So the one row is the article headline itself, the post headline itself, and they call it very cutely a thing. Just a thing. That's the class that they used. And there is a tr which has no class at all, no definition at all, and then a spacer tr which just creates a little space with a height of 5 pixels. So we gotta ignore the third one and just keep going via. So if you just traverse, one of the ways to do this is just traverse the tr and then every 3 is your article, and then get data from inside of this, and then from inside of this for each article, and then you are a post, and you'll be fine. Okay, so that's a vague idea I have. We might change as we go along. So before we do any of this anyway, we need to first figure out how to fetch it. So for that, we're going to use the request class, a request module. The way to call a URL using request is using the request get method. You're going to pass the URL to it, and also you're going to pass headers optionally. And we'll need headers. The reason we need headers is because Y Combinator, any website as a rule, might block you if you don't pretend enough to be a browser. Okay, so this is your chance to play act a little bit. And so to do that, the best technique is to send a user agent string as a header. That's how they identify what browser you are, because all browsers send this, and that's how they identify that you're not a browser and therefore can block you. So there is a website which lists all this. If you just say list of user agent strings, it will give you this quite a lot of them. I'm going to select, I'm not going to deeper into that, I'm going to select this, which is Mac OS based Safari browser, pretty close to what I have now. So I'm just quickly taking this and creating a header request using this. Header request is an array, so I'm just going to do that, and then call it user agent. Okay, that's the way to call it. Colon, there is your browser's identity. Okay, so this tells the requesting to identify itself as Mozilla on Mac. All right, and once the response is given, let's just put the response here somewhere. Okay, and let's print it. Let's just print and see if the response is coming. This one says a thing called content. I'm gonna print that. Save this, I guess, as something like Beautiful Soup underscore Hacker News. Sounds pretty good. So then you're gonna go here. I was messing around a little bit earlier. So clear that, and then let's run Python 3. I have too many versions of Python on me. Specify version Python 3 Beautiful Soup underscore Hacker News dot py. Whoops, what did I do there? Underscore hacker news.py. Did I type it right? Oh, URL is not defined, so I thought the name was the problem. Oh, URL, of course. You have to tell what. Oh, okay, so all we have to do is get the URL here. This is the hacker news URL. And here we go. Headers is not defined. Did I call it headers? Oh, headers equals header. Sorry about that, guys. That was pretty clumsy. Okay, so it's a bunch of gibberish. That means it's HTML. This is how HTML looks. This is good for us, right? Let's clear this, which means it's working. Now that's not very useful, so we're going to comment it out. So that's the first step. Scraping starts now. So before we can scrape something, the response or content that we got can be souped, using beautiful soup. Okay, so to do beautiful soup on this, what you do is you pass the beautiful soup the response dot content, basically the HTML, and then ask it to do it, parse it into an XML style. Okay, sometimes this requires LXML library, by the way. If it is not there for some weird reason, just install it. And if this fails, this particular line, and then pass it to a soup object. So this parses that content, which is just random HTML, into something that can be traversed, something that can be queried, something that can be selected and scraped out of. So we're going to see that in a moment, how to do that. Okay. So for that, I'm just going to go and see if I can get a particular. Yes, so let's now traverse the TR objects. I think that's where we should start, right? So we're going to go and say for item. I'm just going to do a for loop on this, by the way. All right. So I'm going to show you how to find the TR item, the TR, the table row item, using beautiful soup. It's a very simple command. Soup dot find will give us everything that we need to do. So I just have to target TR there. Okay, so that will give us the entire piece of that row that we need. So we need alternate rows, we know that as well. So let's use some trickery here. So I'm just going to do for each into this. So for item in soup dot find all. So I don't need find only gives you the first item. So I'm going to do find all, and then I'm going to do tr. Okay, so in which I will now just print this tr, the item that's returned, which will be each individual row, and see if I am on track. Here we go. There you go. Yeah, it looks like we are on track. It returns quite a lot of weird stuff as well. So we're going to see how we can weed that out now. Okay. So what we'll do is we will just look at what is the item that we need to pick. Let's look at one item at least that we can pick. Okay. So I think the one that will go for is the story itself, the headline itself, which will be the story link item. Okay. So I'm going to go and say here, the item itself. Here we're going to use a select command, okay? Because the class name is so clear that I can use a select command here and then give the class name. So here is where a jQuery selector, which is either a hash ID of the class, ID of the element, or a dot class name can be given. So all those are applicable here. Okay. So this is your typical jQuery selector. So because it was story link, I'm just going to go story link. All right, and this will give me an array back, because if there might be multiple story link, even though there is only one inside a particular tr, I'm just going to go, hey, give me one of the first element of that, because I know it's always going to be an array, even if it is, so it will return an array if I try and print this, right? So dot, that's not enough, so we're going to use the get text command, because then we can do away with all the all the HTML one shot, and then just print this. Cool. So now let's run it. Okay, I think I know what's happening here. So not always. So what's happening here is, I think it is traversing all the TRs, but not always is there a story link inside that. So this is where the cleverness comes. I think what we can then do is we can ignore anything which does not have that by simply going, hey, is there a story link inside it? Right? Is there a story link inside it? Then it is a particular type of row which has a story link inside it. Otherwise, we'll do something else with it. Okay? So we'll check every time what kind of row is this. Okay? If there is a story link inside, then print it. Otherwise, don't bother. There you go. We got it. All right. So here there is no list index out of range, because only if it's there, then it will print it. These are all the stories that are there. WireGuard is now, Linus history, whatever, right? So now, what else is there of value in that row? Let's get that all out now. We can go here and say, I don't know if we really need this. I think we need the link. Let's get the link out. Okay. So we definitely need the link. It's a part of the story link. Ahref, the same class will do the trick, but instead of getting text, we have to get the href. Okay. So we're going to do that little magic over here. So what I'll do is I'll copy this, because it's the exact same thing. And here, instead of get text, we remove that. We don't even have to do, we just get the href part of this. And I think that should give us the link and the, yes, do you see that? Okay, if this is weird to see on a video, here's what I'll do to make it more readable for you. Let's just print divider between things, all right? So we can just see that it's not some gibberish that you're saying. Oops, what did I do? Oh, okay. Too much PHP coding. Right? Who else is bored a lot because they can't use the brackets and they have to use the brackets in print? That bothers me. I'm too lazy. So there you go. You can see that these are all the links and these are all the stories, headlines itself. Beautiful, isn't it? So let's get more stuff now. Let's get this row. Okay, so if you go down the row, let's block this off. We don't need anything from that row, I think. We need stuff from this row, which is a lot of nice, interesting stuff there is. Okay, score. We definitely need the score. So we're just going to get the score. Okay. So, but then, here's a weird thing, right? This is a different class. So how do we know we are on this class, right? So I would say we're going to be very careful here and say here, if there is a score inside of it, just the way we use this technique over here, we're going to replicate that technique, saying if there is something called a score, otherwise it'll throw an error, then that's the right row for us. All right. Then we'll pick out a piece one by one. So what we'll do is then simply get this, should work here, more or less the same logic, score of first of the scores, because it's an array sum all the time, and get text. Let's just see if this link, okay, by the way, now it'll print the separator at the wrong place in between the story. I'm going to remove that and put it here at the very end. So that's one story which has two, like it has the headline of the story, it has a URL of the story, as well as, there it is, it's already here. So each story has a headline, it's the URL, and then the number of points it has scored. All right. So what else can we get? Let's get some more stuff. Now it's pretty easy after this, because once we identify these rows, okay, well, let's see if we can get the username, because it might be important. So class hn user is the username. So simple. Same thing. And right before insert and say hn user. I think I'll be bold enough to get one more item here. Let's see what that is. Let's say how many comments. That's a useful piece. So let's go. What are the number of comments? Yeah. Um, yeah. Well, this is a little tricky now because this has no class definition, but we can find it as an href. Okay. But there's another href just before this. So we can ask for it as a second href. Okay. That's allowed. This is good. HN is challenging here because it is allowing us to, it's broken each story into 3 rows. So we have to query rows and skip rows intelligently. And therefore we can check the row for little sense of the row, which what sort of row is this, and therefore based on that, pick different parts of the content out. The second is it is allowing us to find those rows. That's a different type of query. Then it's allowing us to query inside that using a select class select query, which is a different type of query. And now even that's not enough. We have to find and count down to the link. And actually, if you count down, there are 3 links here. There seems to be 1, 2, 3 links. So let's just check if there are any more links. All right, so that we can just count down to, there is a buy link, and there is the hide link, and then there is the comments link. So this is the third the third link. All right, that's all we gotta get, unless there is something else hidden somewhere. Yeah, I think that's it. All right, okay. So the way to do that is, instead of a select, we could do a find all. It's the easiest way, I feel, to, yeah. So instead of doing that, we can just say find all, and then inside of this find for me is, and then give me the second, which means the third, and then the get text of that should be the link. Not sure though. Yeah, it's a text that we need. We don't need the link really, so we're not looking for the href. So I got confused there for a minute. That should give us everything we need. Okay, there you go. Oh, hide. We got the hide. So there's another link somewhere. So we got to the hide link instead of going to the next one. Oh, okay. There's one more here, which is the 2 hours ago. Oh, yeah, that was hidden. Sorry about that. So it is 1, 2, 3, fourth link. So to get to the fourth link, we have to put 3 here, and that will give us everything we need this time. There you go. So you got the headline, and you got the link, you got the number of points it's accumulated, who posted it, and then the number of comments that person has. Bingo. So this is how you scrape Hacker News using Beautiful Soup. But it's not done, word of caution. If you want to do this in production, this is fine. This will run for a while. But after that, it is bound to fail. Any scraping engine eventually will need to rotate the headers, by the way. The user agent headers, the web service will detect that you're being the same exact machine but doing thousands of calls. Right? That's not very human behavior. So what happens is it'll detect that and an algorithm will block you. And then we, even if you rotate it, if you're using an algorithm, there are a lot of these versions that you can keep changing, make a big list of it, rotate it. If you do that, then a smarter algorithm will simply block the IP that you're coming from. So you can only change the IP so many times by restarting your browser, or your router, or changing machines. It's very painful. If you really want to scale this in a way where you almost make it seamless and never really fails, you'll have to use a proxy server, and a rotating proxy server at that. Right? You can't just use a few proxies. You need to use hundreds and thousands of proxies. So we do that. I have a service which does that professionally, and let me please allow me to introduce it to you. All right. I feel odd about that, but then if you have to scale a web scraping project, you have to do this. There is no way around it. So it's called proxiesapi.com, and all you do, basically it takes your request and rotates it using multiple proxy servers, millions in fact, high speed residential private anonymous proxies, um, and it basically essentially guarantees the result at any scale. We have millions of URLs going from our server every single day to hundreds of our clients, and mostly none of them fail. That's because what you do is, instead of passing the URL, calling the URL directly, you just call our endpoint and pass the URL that you want as a variable in the endpoint along with your API key. Okay, and this API key you can get right away, by the way, by just doing a free sign up without even any credit card. Put your email address, you'll get a API key which you can use 1,000 times in a month for free. Okay, so that's more than enough to scale most things. Give us a hard URL for a test if you need, and then test it yourself. It is super fast, super concurrent. That means you can ask, throw up to 1,000 just on the free version. You can give me 10 concurrent requests, and it'll handle that no problems. And you will get much more than that when you go for a pro version, of course. Um, and all of the browser rotation in terms of user agent rotations and automatic retries, captcha solving, 30 other little tricks like this, which we will accumulated over a period of doing hundreds of these projects. Um, we do that behind the scenes so that literally it guarantees that you will get whatever data you need, right? And so, if go ahead and try it out if you feel like that you will need a scalable big scraper. But otherwise, for most purposes, this should be enough. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry about the pitch, but that's for more advanced users. Otherwise, 90% of the time, this should be enough to get you going and get you started on basic web scraping, web crawling stuff. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.